I've seen pictures of the popes in the Vatican. I've seen pictures of the popes in the Vatican. The last 5 popes, actually, you can actually go online and find them paying devotion and worshiping various black Madonnas. You can go in much of the churches of Eastern Europe, Russia, Ukraine, and those areas, Poland, Czechoslovakia. And the primary Madonnas are black.
They actually had no problems worshiping or honoring black figures. We can find in many parts in Southern Europe, in France, in Spain, and Italy, where the black Madonna and Child, which is Aset and Heru. They worshiped them knowing that they were black.
And so there were images of this black mother and child that were regarded by the early Christians and Greeks as the black Madonna and Child.
You can go into Ethiopia and you could see the origins of this Madonna and Child. And it is, as we said earlier, it goes back to metaphor. It goes back to ideas of analogy and the myth that the mother of God and God who sits on the lap, that is why Aset is a throne.
You will see symbols of Aset and Horus, or what they'll say Horus is Horus, which means the sun. So Aset represents the feminine principle and the mother principle, and Horus represents the sun. S-U-N and S-O-N.
So you see the king suckling the breasts of the mother, which later the Europeans will use that as the black Madonna. And then the black will all of a sudden turn to white.
Because they understand, at least at that level, that their version of the Madonna and Child, which begins to appear in pictures in the 15th century, is simply their rendition of an archetype. And that archetype is black. A black woman and a black child, with a black father god represented by Osiris. And that those three come together to cause creation to keep repeating itself. The initial creation with Atum and Nun and Ptah will constantly be recreated by Asar, Aset, and Heru. And Asar and Aset and Heru is the symbolic archetype for the human family.
The model of Heru and his mother Aset became the model for all human beings. So images of Aset and Heru were carved all throughout Kemet. Every king saw himself as the personification of Heru, the rebirth of Heru.
They would make symbols of Aset in the physical form, symbolize it, whether painted or in wooden carvings, etc., or statues or stone, and Horus sitting on her knee.
And that is why the Christ child sits on her lap as the Neset Biti, or the ruler, sits on the throne.
And from that ancient symbolism of the feminine or the mother and son principle, the Constantinians imitate that ancient imagery with statues and wood carvings and paintings called Mary and Jesus. That's where it has its origin.
There's no real ancient mother figures in the European world. If you look at that Venus figure, that's a black woman. So even ancient white folks, their godly mother material is a black woman.
They have to have that black Madonna there to worship the sister. So they have to have that sister there because you have to honor your mothers and your fathers, and all of them come from your ancestors. So this is why you will see the Pope bowing down, you know, worshiping the woman. The world worships the woman because they understand where it comes from.
All children is symbolic of Peru, or what in the Western tradition is called Jesus. All mother is a holy mother and symbolic of the mother Aset and what the West would call Mary. And so the popes and them, who are supposed to be the most learned among the theologians in the Western world, they're not lost on this truth. And that's why you'll see them paying devotion to the Black Madonna and Child, because that's the archetype out of which everything else proceeds in their tradition.
So that's why, even on the slave plantation, they said you were 3/5 of a human, but they wanted you to suckle their babies and raise their kids. I mean, their actions was a contradiction of what they were saying. They understood who you were, but they made sure you didn't understand who you were.
A Weber shredded pepperoni and toasted cheese? The Weberoni pizza from
The reason Europeans transform the image of the Black Madonna and Child into a white Madonna and white child is very normal. It was appropriate, and there's nothing wrong with it at all, because everyone should see God in their image and see themselves in the image of God.